Hi, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here today for our May 19th meeting of the Brooklyn Tea Party. I would like to introduce to you our good friend Gerard Kassar, Gerard Kassar, everyone knows him as. He used to be the Conservative Party chairman of Brooklyn and now is newly minted New York State Conservative Party chairman. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kassar.
Let's do this in a small group. Let's do it informally. I'm going to sit down and let's have a discussion. I obviously have something to say first. But let's do a little bit. Let's make it more of a discussion. So first of all, I just left Mike Long where I was, and he says to say hi. He had caught this on Facebook, and he wanted to extend his good wishes. He wanted to just congratulate you for your longevity and doing this in Brooklyn for so long, like the rest of us, like me. So I was the chairman in Brooklyn for 30 years. Many of you knew me during those 30 years in terms of what I was trying to do with the party. We kept it pretty active, I thought. I felt that we had a good history of running candidates, of maximizing our vote, occasionally winning some elections. I mean, there was one year between Sterobin and Turner and other people, because the Conservative Party doesn't necessarily endorse Republicans, but between other people we endorsed, we had some very good times, and I would say now, as much of the downstate Republican and conservative causes, we might say that we're not on the same good times as we used to be. But I'm going to try to bring you a more positive message, because I do believe there are a lot of good things that are happening and can happen here, and part of it has to do with, as I was chatting with some of you earlier, about my travels and things I've been seeing and things I'm doing to the things I'm doing with the Conservative Party. I say things I'm doing to the Conservative Party. That some other people might say that. Things I'm doing with the Conservative Party that are changing a little bit about the way the Conservative Party operates, and some of the lessons I've actually learned from you guys. So just so you just realize that. So I was elected in late February as state chairman. I was initially opposed, but the opposition did not materialize in the end, and I was fortunate enough to be elected unanimously at that point in a meeting that was held in Brooklyn by our state executive committee. I had pledged at the time a number of things, which, since I've been in politics a long time, I was really planning to only pledge things I could keep. Seen too many pledges that have fallen apart. So one of the things I pledged was to expand our social media operations, from adding Instagram, which we did not have, to hiring a company, a professional company, to help us with our social media presence, to be much more aggressive on Twitter, and additionally to start doing other digital advertising, which we are beginning to do through this company we hired. I also promised that I would attempt to expand our presence among millennials. I wasn't necessarily thinking about college students, mind you. I mean, I'm not opposed to college students having a greater presence in the Conservative Party, but the conversation seems to always be college students. And let's face it, college students are transient. They haven't really settled down. They don't know what it's like necessarily to pay property taxes, or to, for that matter, look at their payroll check and see what's come out of it. So we were looking more for a younger professional millennial, basically from those that are just out of college or graduate school, right into their 30s. And to help me do that, I hired an additional staff person. So I've increased the staff at the state headquarters of the party. We have a small staff. I've increased it. The individual I hired, some of you know, John Cerabelli, who had handled field operations for Nicole Maliotakis's mayoral race, and who was also on Senator Golden's staff at one time. It's actually, if you saw Senator Golden, John was with him. So what John has done, actually, is he's been going around speaking before groups of younger professionals, and he's begun to organize socials for us. So, for example, on June 7th, for a $10 cover charge at Jack Dempsey's in the city, you know, the bar that's named after the former great boxer, we're having a couple of speakers in, a person from the advisory group for Trump's re-election, a gentleman named Hall. And we're having in Ryan, I can't pronounce Ryan's last name, Jaminski, who is a writer out of Queens, who has written for a number of conservative publications, but it's a social. We are promoting it on social media. We are promoting it with these groups that we have on our contact list. We are promoting it among the Conservative Party. We're promoting it among the Republican Party and other groups. I spoke at the Monday night meeting, last Monday night, and there was an interest there. But that's the first one. We're going to be up in Yorktown and, Peekskill in later July with the Tia Lowe, who you see on, she's a writer for the Washington Examiner. She's going to be doing an event for us. We're going to be in Binghamton in August doing something. And we'll be back in the city or on Long Island in September. But here's my point. My point is that I'm attempting to enhance our presence on social media and those communication outlets, as well as have some direct contact with younger individuals that are interested in the conservative movement. But there's another piece to this, which is crucial. And if I didn't do this part, I think this would be a failure. In no way, shape, or form is the Conservative Party changing any of its positions on issues. We are the Conservative Party. We have a social issue agenda. We have, obviously, a foreign affairs agenda. We have an economic agenda. We have anything, planks that are very well known and public. But here's the thing I am doing. I am attempting to communicate aspects of these issues differently. So, for example, when you think of the conservative movement's position on the environment, you might think that it's a just say no. I spent 14 years as a member of the New York State, of the Interstate Environmental Commission, representing New York State. I was New York's commissioner for 14 years, appointed by Governor Pataki. I'm an expert on many environmental issues, and I'm the Conservative Party state chairman. Obviously, I believe there's a way to communicate environmental issues from a conservative perspective that a young professional would understand. I'm just using this as an example. But so, for instance, those who tell you that essentially in 12 years the world is coming to an end, you know they're insane. But how about someone like me who says to you that the positive environmental and conservation policy can equally be balanced with the good economic policy, so that you can continue to create jobs and put food on your plate? Maybe that's the message I want to relay, because I know it's true. That's the way Governor Pataki had us run the commission. That's the way it can be, and I'm just, like I said, using that as an example. And I think that's a message that more, people that aren't in a complete panic about what the future holds, I think that is a better message, and I think it's a realistic message. But I'm using, like I said, I'm using that as an example. We could go through just about any conservative position or issue and say right now, I think, in the New York City region or in downstate New York, we could probably be communicating it better. We are not wrong, we just do not explain well enough why we're right. And we can do that. Now, there are many parts of the state, and I have been traveling. If you follow me at all on Facebook or Twitter, you'll see that I've been most everywhere, and by the time the summer's over, I will have been everywhere. And I speak pretty much everywhere I go, and I meet with the public officials. In a good part of our state, as much as the governor and the mayor certainly, and some of your downstate liberals want you to believe, in a good part of the state, it's what you would expect it to be. Solid conservative principles running local and county governments. I go into Monroe County, which is Rochester. The county execs are Republican. The county legislature is Republican. Well, the towns are Republican. I go into Onondaga County, which is Syracuse, the same thing happens. I go into Chemung, I run into Chris Morse, who you might remember was the sheriff there and ran for lieutenant governor a few years ago. He got elected last year as county executive. I walk into Elmira, the mayor wants me to come up to City Hall, sit down in his office and talk about things. Just he wants to see what's going on. He's a Republican. So what I mean, you know, I'm in Binghamton. Binghamton, the mayor's Republican, the county legislature's Republican. Well, and that was a pickup last year of all things, so we picked something up. My point is simply this. There might, I don't know, you know, the mayor liked to talk about a tale of two cities. To some degree, New York can be a tale of two states, but they still merge on a conservative philosophy. It just happens that people aren't as aware downstate that we, you, the Tea Party, us, the Conservative Party, Republicans like you as a district leader, are more popular than we've allowed people to appreciate us. We haven't run enough candidates. They've been underfunded. They have not been able to say what they are thinking and get that message out. You're a prime example. When we ran you're a smart guy who has a lot of good things to say on a lot of different things. But really, how much could you communicate it? You just couldn't. You tried to raise some money, but you know, so I don't blame anybody, but I do know what the problem is, and I do think the first thing to do to try to correct certain things is to understand what they are. I've been buoyed greatly by my travels because, as like I said, I went into Suffolk County for an event. I found 120 elected officials that were associated with the Conservative or Republican Party at that event. I went into Rochester. I attended a dinner that had 450 to 500 people at it, of which there were something like 190 elected officials that were endorsed by the Conservative and I presume Republican parties. I know that because the chairman, Tom Cook, a very smart guy, wanted everybody to know. So he actually spent about 35, 40 minutes introducing all 190 of them and had them stand up. When I went into Elmira, at the City Club, there was a reception thrown for me. The room was filled with elected officials. We down here are beginning to lose our way to some degree and are beginning to suffer a little bit from a failure to elect, and there's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you start getting into periods of time, one year after another, not elected. But I think the good news is this. The policies of the Democratic Party, and I can tell you for a fact the Conservative Party does work with Democrats, but the policies in recent years, most likely the last 2.5 to 3 years, it was kind of a reaction to President Trump. They decided, the country went right, so they decided to go far to the left, and especially in the downstate area. Those policies, as communicated by AOC, just imagine if our initials were AOL, what would happen? Everybody knew that. But AOC and a whole host of progressives who are elected to the state Senate and state assembly are scary. But there is a reaction the other way. There's a reaction the other way when somebody, I was at church this morning, from the pulpit, they announced a card they were sending to Congressman Rose, because Congressman Rose has, and he tries to portray himself as middle of the road, he has voted something like 5 times against an amendment to prohibit, it's called the Right to Live Amendment, Right to Live Amendment, which is to reverse state policies in New York and other states which allow for a doctor to theoretically abort a live birth, kill an infanticide. So the federal government, the Republicans actually, have been introducing this amendment. It would have effect in New York as well as, I think, Rhode Island did it, I believe Vermont did it. And it gets defeated by a party line Democratic vote every time it comes up. So at that church this morning, they were, and it's in his district, they were sending him a card. That's a reaction. You know as well as I do, there's been an extreme reaction our way on the Amazon situation. And we could go through case point after case point, and you've lived it, you're seeing it, you're here with me. You see that the Democrats have gone too far, and as long as the electorate doesn't feel that the situation has become hopeless, we should have opportunities to make some positive changes. Personally, I believe in Nassau County, some of those Democratic state senators who were elected will get defeated just strictly on that Amazon deal and some of the other stuff they've had to vote for in Albany like the Reproductive Health Act, which are perceived as extreme. But we need candidates, we need volunteers, we need money, we need, we can't just expect the, as they say in the Old Testament, the manna is not going to fall out of the sky here. We're not going to find it behind a rock. We have to produce some of this ourselves. And I'm hoping to lead the Conservative Party in that direction. You guys are officially non-political, but you are the most political, non-political people I know. And that's good, because in a way that makes you normal, that you're interested but aren't, looking for the next political club meeting to go to. So, I mean, that's kind of my intro. I'd rather have a conversation with you, and take it from there, if that's okay.
All right, we have any questions in the audience?
Please.
Hi, this is the first time here. My name is Rudy Eagle, and I live in Park Slope in Brooklyn, and I'm a member of the Park Slope Food Club. And years ago, I stood up against the BDS, with other people, who wanted to boycott Israeli products. And I was like, I didn't mean to, it was like crazy. I thought this is in Park Slope, Brooklyn, and there were Jews who were advocating for boycott with the BDS. So I stood up with some other people following me up, and they said, this is democracy. I said, this is Jew bashing. But I didn't, I'm not a speaker, I'm not, good at debating or whatever. And so then they suspended me and 3 other people for a year, saying that we disrupted the co-op. We protested against the, boycotting products from Israel. So, I tried to get help from different big organizations. So now I'm still involved, and what we want to do is to make people aware of, like I call it, the Democrats have such a control over, even like in Park Slope. If you would see, like you support Trump, they would kill you or they would have a heart attack. It all depends on the age. They're all hippies.
I mean, you're obviously right. I mean, the Democratic Party, maybe not as a national organization, but in the House of Representatives, which is a big deal, the New York City Council and the New York State Legislature, which is what we got to deal with, clearly reflects a view that could be construed as being anti-Israeli.
It is.
I mean, you would get you can see behind the curtain on these things. And to their credit, there are many good, well-focused Democratic elected officials, like a Carmen Yeager, and or even a Doug Heiken or a Felder, who.
But he's on the. He's getting to realize he's afraid to make that move. The reason why he became a member of the Democrats, because that was the way to get elected. And this is what people thought through the years, that it would be better to be on a Democratic side.
Well, right, but I mean, there's some truth to that, frankly, in Borough Park. But I mean, the thing is this: what I'm saying to you is that what shocks me most is the number of New York. Things that happen in New York City with that city council. Almost nothing surprises me. What does surprise me is the number of state legislators who are not from the inner city, that are Democrats, that seem to be buying into some of this. I mean, in Albany, they're still holding a little bit of it back, but it's getting close. House of Representatives, I mean, it's the House of Representatives for the United States. I mean,
right.
Israel is, what's a better ally?
What I want to do, if anybody wants to, I wear this hat, it's called J Exit. And it's about Jews, and not only Jews, to walk away to the Democratic Party, not because of what they represent, especially to Jews in New York State. And what I want to do is get people on board. We want to have like an event in Brooklyn, maybe in Brighton Beach. I'm not connected. I'm connected, but I'm not. And there was a May 7th, this organization, whatever, they had something going on in Washington, D.C. I couldn't go. And so now I want to bring Exit to Brooklyn. And if people want to be on board to do it in Brighton, to get a vendor or anybody who's connected to politicians who, I can connect you to Alexandria Levine, and to, we want to have it done in